I'm a human who wears many hats, as you may have noticed. In addition to working for fabulous actors as the dance development manager, I also work for Live to Living Room. But I'm generally an organizer and a maker of things to happen. And one of the fabulous things that I made happen during lockdown was a tiny little event called Clog Zoom, which I thought made a really nice case study for this day. It was it was born as a result of people talking about making something happen during lockdown after a few people had done little step clog teaching classes and sessions. There was a chat about making something bigger happen. I stepped up to organise it. It took place on the 15th and 16th of May 2021, and it was basically an attempt to try and recreate the structure and community of our favourite physical events as closely as possible while we couldn't do that. So yeah, here's my website for it. You can read a bit of that if you're interested. Wallopers Weekend, which is one of the biggest step clog teaching weekends, had a tried and tested timetable, so we stuck to that with morning and afternoon sessions and tea breaks structured very much like we're doing this with breaks, so that everyone has a chance to sort of manage their energy, etc. And we finished at lunchtime on Sunday with a workshop showcase, allowing all the attendees to watch the tutors dancing the routines that had been taught, and for the participants to have one more go with the camera on or off at their discretion. I'm just going to pop over to the timetable page to show you roughly what we did. There we go. So around the classes themselves, we began with a warm-up all together as a way of building a community. One of my favourite memories of the whole of lockdown is the image of Simon Harmer gyrating in his dining room. It will stay with me for a long time. On the Saturday evening, we had a social Zoom party with tunes and a bit of chat and a few mass dance routines for people to take part in, run much like our online stepping sessions. A key element of the in-person workshops is often having clog makers present to service and sell clogs. So we also included clog maker Simon Brock giving demonstrations of how to measure your feet in order to order clogs, something that he would normally do in person, and showing us how they're made as an optional extra video people could watch early on the Sunday morning. So as well as this, and little details like sending people the cake recipes and the soup recipes that people might have used at Clicker's workshop in-person event, we felt we were really able to put on a very multifaceted event virtually. The workshops themselves took place in breakout rooms, much like we're doing today, with a steward on hand in each one. I had 17 people, including amazing Kerry, in my backstage team, including the tutors, and there were approximately 40 paying participants from every end of the UK and a few from Canada and America and Australia, as well as someone in Belgium and someone in Japan. You can imagine that some of those people were up quite early in the morning or staying up very late in order to take part. We sent those participants safety notes in advance about how to risk assess their dancing space, and they were sent dance notation and videos afterwards. So I'll show you the tutors page, which has got a little list and description of every routine. So we had the brilliant Toby Bennett teaching a routine that he eventually called the Knicker Factory hornpipe that he'd actually developed specifically for the event, which was really special. He was dancing to Lewis Wood's recordings. He'd made recordings on purpose, as had John Dixon, who is the musician for Camden, made recordings for John Davidson to teach Pat Tracy's B routine to. And then Melanie Barber and Mike Emerson were lucky enough, they're a married couple and living in the same house, so Mel was lucky enough to have her musician on tap with her. And then multi-talented Matt Norman, who was teaching some Dartmoor stepping, had recorded himself playing in order to dance to, which was really quite special. I spent the day dipping in and out of all the classes and consequently learned absolutely nothing. But the quality of both the teaching and the dancing was really excellent, and feedback from the participants was wonderful. The attempt to bring the step dancing community together worked so beautifully, and so many people were inspired to keep dancing and learning step clog during lockdown. It was an absolutely wonderful event. I was privileged to be part of it. And it couldn't have happened without that community stepping up to offer the support and believe in the vision. I'm just going to show you a little clip here of Mel dancing a step here at teaching pace. It's quite a complex dance that she was teaching, the Sam Sherry's original waltz. And this is a great demonstration of how good a forum for teaching step dance Zoom actually is, because not only does everyone have a great view of the tutor's feet, but nobody can hear you clattering about as you try and learn. So I'll just swap my share over to my little video off now. Hopefully you can all see that, and we're just going to watch one step. So yeah, that was Clog Zoom. It was a really wonderful event and showed just what was possible at the time. Um, And as a nice conclusion, subsequently last year, my team, Field Tattoo, ran a physical workshop about a year ago. We were inspired to offer one of the classes as an online option, and we were joined for this by many of those same friends in the States and Australia, as well as the further reaches of the UK, which showed very clearly that hybrid and online teaching and connection really does have a place in the world today.
Rebecca Manson-Jones from the Spare Tyre organisation. Welcome.
Hello. I'm not going to do a presentation. I'm just going to chat, if that's all right, but I can put some things in the chat later. So hello, I'm Rebecca. I'm a white woman in my 50s with curly grey hair. My pronouns are she, her. I'm the artistic director of Spare Tyre Theatre. We're a participatory arts company specialising in sensory inclusive experiences in person and online. I'm talking about Chronically Creative, which takes place in a virtual cafe. So to join me, all I'd like you to do is relax. I'd like you to feel the weight of the chair, the sofa, the bed, or the floor that's supporting you right now. If you're comfortable to, I'd like you to shut your eyes and take a deep breath in and release that breath in your own time. Take another breath, wiggle your shoulders and toes, it is 4 o'clock, whatever feels good. And one more breath, perhaps the deepest you've taken all day, and slowly let that one out. And if you can keep your eyes closed, I'd like you to imagine yourself in your favorite cafe. This can be a real one, or it can be absolutely made up. Take a moment to enjoy the view. Listen to the background music, the silence, or the clinking of spoons. Your favorite drink is magically right there, made to your liking at prices you can afford. Savor the tastes, the smells, the textures, and let yourself be in this moment. And when you're ready, I invite you to put your hands over your eyes and flutter your eyelids open to rejoin us in this Zoom. Lovely, thank you. Together, we have just made today's virtual cafe. It's a collective act of imagination that creates a space where chronically creative can take place. Originally, this was an experience that I wanted to offer to creative people who found their lives and livelihoods turned upside down by contracting COVID. I was an early adopter of COVID. I got very sick in February and March 2020, and I've never really got better. I was lucky that I had landed a salaried job at the end of 2019, so I was relatively secure, but all through 2020, I was becoming increasingly uncertain and anxious about how I would live and how I would practice as a newly disabled artist. I didn't even really know what that meant, and I don't still now. I was also wondering about freelancers. How were they coping? How would they develop their work? How would they pay the rent? So the original COVID Cafe, which is what it was called then, came from that energy, some creative curiosity, financial necessity, and solidarity. I set out to make a space that brought creative people with long-term health conditions together to meet, share, and use their creativity to process where they are in the world, who they can and want to be now in the brains and the bodies that they're in. And that quickly extended beyond self-declared creatives, and it became about the community. It was the community and the solidarity through creativity that matters. So Chronically Creative is not a self-help group. It's important to me that it's held by lived experience artistic facilitators who are paid for their time to prepare, to facilitate, and reflect between each session. I've given them a foundation in action learning facilitation and co-facilitation. I hold regular check-ins with them so that together we've built an iterative community of practice. We've been doing this since 2021. There are always 2 facilitators in each session because either could be feeling symptomatic, as I am today. A technical host provides music and support if people are struggling with the Zoom. And all the sessions are supported by a BSL interpreter and captions. I called it COVID Cafe to start with, and this year we renamed it to reflect the inclusivity of the invitation. Now we are chronically creative. It always has been that if you live with a long-term health condition, you're welcome. We don't ask, there are no qualifications, and we're not offering cures or advice or signposting to services. There's just time spent together and an invitation to explore what's going on for you through guided visualizations, discussion, and a suggested creative activity, which some people do from their bed, some at a table, and some just in their head. Some people share, some people don't turn their screen on, some people join in using the chat, and others have their voices, contributions voiced. We don't mind how you show up, how long you stay for, as long as you're kind, listen to others, and you're wearing some clothes. Often joy and possibility manifest. Joy and possibility are 2 phenomena that ill and disabled people are often denied or feel that they have to self-censor. So ours is also a subversive space. Recently, we paid some participants to attend a co-design session about where to take it next. And really touchingly, but quite significantly, all they wanted was for us to be able to continue. They loved the repetition. They loved the ritual. They didn't really want it to change. They said it's grounding, refreshingly safe, non-judgmental, calm, spacious, a way of exploring complex emotions, a highlight of the week. They said it's powerful and great that there's no required outcome. And they also said we're a group of secret creative ninjas. The facilitators value it because we're alongside the participants, working out how to be in this world in real time with them. We hold the threads of the conversation and we use those to inform the next one. And that's the tenuous link I can make to the folk tradition today. We've learned a lot about resetting our self-worth, trusting our instincts and not wasting time, using energy in a compressed and purposeful fashion. And one participant said, I don't know what you're doing to create this space, but whatever it is, it's very special. I'm not finding this anywhere else. I'm going to post some things in the chat if you're interested in finding out more, or if you would like to join us or know somebody who might want to. But for now, that's me. Over to the next person. Thank you.
Sorry, just in time for the thing about online events. My computer decided that it couldn't find its camera, so I'm on my phone for you today. So yeah, I haven't got a presentation or anything. I'm just going to talk through some of the online things that I've done as a caller, especially as a dance caller. People are a bit like, how do you do things online? So I started off. I've been trying to trace the history of it. And it was around the time that I wrote an article for the FS magazine about gender-free calling that I realised that there weren't really any gender-free calling resources online. So I started writing a series of blogs where I just took dances that I knew and liked, and I wrote gender-free instructions for them and put them on my website. And that's kind of where it all started, making those online resources. And they were quite popular. And then kind of, I guess, continuing from that, I have Estes to blame again. I did a gender-free calling course for them back in February of 2023. And that was kind of my first ever experience, I think, really, of online teaching. And it was something that they had, been experimenting with, from times of COVID onwards. And from that, it sort of gave me the confidence, I think, finally, to say, I actually do have skills which I can share with other people. I'm so impressed by Mel starting teaching so soon after learning the melodeon herself, because I had been calling for like 10 years at that point and was still, or maybe not quite 10 years, sort of eight years. And I just wasn't confident to share. No, 12 years. I can't do maths. I started calling in 2010, 2011, which was also Kat's fault. So this is all very FDS. Cats have had a big influence in my practice. So anyway, I started a course which I called Introduction to Ceilidh Calling in sort of spring 2023. I think the first cohort was in May, and I've just looked back through my records, and I'm now on my 10th cohort. So I have 6 students per course, and we go through sort of like the basics of explaining moves. We talk about working with music. We talk about the sort of admin side of being a caller and getting gigs. And then I give each of them the opportunity to call a dance over Zoom, which puzzled people a bit at first, and I've sort of made part of the course much more about, you know, sort of explaining why that's important. That you know, it's a safe space to practice, and also it's really important to be able to practice calling when nobody's there, because otherwise you're going to have very few opportunities to practice. And then also it gives everyone else the opportunity to see 5 other people call and get feedback and things. Oh yes, sorry for my use of the word FDES. It's the English Folk Dance and Song Society, who are running co-running this with that. So the other strand, so those are courses that I get paid for, kind of, I guess, partly inspired by kind of Mel's model of doing things, but I haven't gone into the world of sort of content where I'm not actually there, pre-recorded things. I'm still kind of working on the basis of like groups where I meet them for 2 hours a week for 5 weeks in a row, online. Community of all online is I think around the time of COVID, I organised a callers meetup. I need to look up the date and find out when that was. And it was really popular. People wanted to talk to other callers online. So off the back of that, I think I started a monthly group to kind of meet up online. And then I changed the format. I kind of played around with the format a lot. I was trying to, do I have something regular on the same day of the week? Do I change the days so that different people can come who have different commitments? And then at some point I decided that rather than me just leading every session, I was going to have guest speakers. And so I now have a lovely playlist of 22 videos from the series I called Callers Chat, where I invited a number of people, some of whom are in this room, Kerry and Jen and Kat, to come and talk about some aspect of calling. And I'm really proud that I've done that, because it's created an opportunity. It's just created another resource, really. It's a bit like the calling cards that there's now these 22 videos about all sorts of different things, from calling for children, calling for or families, calling for people with additional communication needs, calling all different aspects of this lovely thing that we do. So yeah, I have paused those for now, but I'm thinking about reviving them in some way. I'm thinking about maybe picking Mel's brains to find out more about this Patreon thing, and, you know, kind of trying to build up that community. But at the end, what I have continued doing is having a mailing list. And so I've been sending out the previous videos, and I've kept doing the dance cards. I've recently restarted doing those. So I send out this monthly email, and I've got 180 callers on that mailing list, which I feel, again, is something to be proud of. and definitely echo what other people said about it being great to have. It kind of widens your reach. So I've connected with people in Canada. I've had people request calling courses from Australia. Can I do something that works in their time zone because I don't want to gap at 5 o'clock in the morning. And I had people come on my calling courses who have been based in different places in Europe, the Netherlands, Portugal, and places like that. And it's just really lovely when we have those small groups, whether it's the callers chat, which is more of a general thing, or whether it's the calling courses, where people are paying to come, and we've got a very specific goal to just bring people together and chat in a way that I think, especially with being a caller, you're usually the only caller on the gig, so you don't get to meet many other callers at gigs. If you can go to festivals and things, and sometimes you meet other callers, but generally we're quite geographically spread and we're usually busy calling, so we don't get to many dance events either. So it's just been a really lovely way to bring people together. And I have no idea how long I've taken, but hopefully that's a good overview to what I do. And I'll share the link to my website and my courses and things.
And that's great, Lisa. Thank you so much.
In the chat.
My name's Becki Driscoll. I'm a fiddle player and a community musician. I'm based in Bideford in North Devon, and that's where I run RootNotes, and I set up the RootNotes Community Folk Ensemble as an online group during lockdown. I taught tunes and I provided sort of backing tracks and things that people could play along to at home. I realised that I had a group of people locally in Bideford and around North Devon who were very keen to get back together and play music in a space all together. But because I'd set this group up online, I also had people from other parts of the country who couldn't possibly get to rehearsals for real. So that's when I started to think about how I might be able to make this work as a hybrid group. So this is the hall. This is where we rehearse the group in person. It's a really nice size hall for the group. It's not too big, but it's got quite a nice acoustic. So I'm just going to set some chairs up. I'm not quite sure how many people we're going to get today because it's the first session back after our sort of summer break. This is the microphone that I use for the session. It's a USB one, so I can plug it straight into the laptop. I have to create my own Wi-Fi signal because this hall doesn't have its own Wi-Fi thing. So I use this little box here. Hopefully I can wake it up. There we go. And so what this should do is create a Wi-Fi signal from 4G. Just use my laptop to run the Zoom. Let's plug the microphone in. See whether that works. Yeah, so I'm going to change that to the wide stereo, and then that should pick up everybody. Good morning, folks. How's everybody doing today? How was your summer? You can actually say hello as well. That is all right. There we go. Lovely. I send the computer screen round so that everyone can say hi to the people on Zoom. And then we'll do a bit of a warm-up, so some stretches and just getting ourselves ready to play. And if you can just have a little stretch up, maybe just lean to one side, that's great. Actually, we do kind of like ear learning exercises. So a kind of call and response pattern. I play something and then the group plays it back. We have a bit of a joke with the people on Zoom, because they're all muted because of the time delay and stuff. It wouldn't work if they weren't. So they can hear me, they can hear the full band, but we can't hear them. And so whenever we do those call and answer bits, well, we always just check in, you know, how did you do at home? And of course they always get all the notes perfect. Sometimes I will be bringing in a new tune which I will teach, and we'll do that usually by ear, but then I do have sheet music that will go out at the end of the session. And for the people who are working on Zoom, at that point where I'm sending the sheet music round, I will do a screen share so that they can see the notation as well if they want to. All the notation and recordings go in a Google folder so that people can access that from home and print out their own copies or download recordings or whatever they need to do.
You've just learned the A part.
Sometimes we try different ideas out, and often the people on Zoom are the best people to ask how it sounds, because they kind of get the full effect of it. So we quite often will try out ideas. I don't know, we've got, let's put the fiddles playing some chords and the flute's playing the tune or something like that. And so we'll try it out in the session, and then I'll ask people to let me know how they think that went. And it's always really handy to get the opinions of people who are joining in from home, because they can kind of hear the overall sound. I think that although it's always better to play with a group in person, Zoom is brilliant if I can't attend for any reason. For example, if I'm not well or I've got a bug, don't want to pass it about, got car problems, workmen, etc. With regards to the choice between Zoom or attending in person, it's great to have a choice. For those of us living some distance away with transport problems, with limited time, or those with mobility difficulties or who are unwell, Zoom can be a lifeline. But there's nothing more joyous than attending in person and playing music in a room with other people. Nothing compares. It's clear that hybrid learning is essential for me. Without it, I wouldn't be able to be a member of the group. It's also really nice to be able to hear all the musicians in the hall. I would like to say that the hybrid Zoom works really well. On Zoom, I feel part of the group, and unlike other Zoom sessions, you can hear the full band in the room. It also means you can noodle away and no one can hear your mistakes.